Hi, folks. So I just wanted to make a little demo for something that I've been working on recently, and then also ask the Doom community if there's already sort of an existing de facto standard solution which achieves this that that would be better to use. Something that's like better supported and yeah. So basically, I was working on um, like a little edit project where like editing an existing like mod or whatever, and um, I wanted to be able to track it in my source control, like in my GitHub in like a GitHub repo. But there's like some like caveats, I guess, with doing that. Mostly in the like creating the final like PK3. So like let's say I have like uh all of my resources for my PK3 defined in my file system in my well on my file system in my GitHub repo. So I got my textures and I got my shaders and I got my you know my GL defs and then everything else that I would need. Um, but how do I like put this into a PK3? Well, I mean, obviously I could just, go here to my archive manager and then, add it physically. But like, it's tedious, it's error prone. I'd much rather just kind of go over to my command prompt window and then type in a short little command that's not very difficult to remember and doesn't involve passing in a bunch of elaborate like switches and arguments and things. Yeah, I just want to type in something short to the point, enter, and then have it spit out a PK3 at the end. The other thing that I'd like to, that I wanted to be able to do very easily was start from an existing PK3, and then run a little command and have everything in that PK3 be extracted and put it like into my source folder within my repository. And I'd want to be able to do that for however many PK3s that I wanted to. Like I could specify a list or whatever. Um, so I put together this little de facto build system where I can do those two very specific things. Um, yeah. So basically, with the build one, I basically wanted a centralized script where I could call it and then I could specify basically the task that I want it to do. Like for example, if I wanted to take everything inside source, oops, in reality it would be like this. So I would have my test archive, whatever, and basically all of the contents in there, and then this would be like my end, like my final PK3. Um, so yeah, ideally with this build script, I'd want to be able to uh, uh, I'd want to be able to say build and then something like release, and then this release target would represent the action of taking whatever top level folders are inside of this source directory and then generating PK3 from them in some place outside of my repo, so I don't have any chance of accidentally committing my build artifacts to the repository. Um, so yeah, that's what this build does. Um, and I actually don't even the particular implementation that I have now. I don't have to specify release because it's the default task basically. So I'll just go ahead and do that. So we can see some info here, initiating task release with arguments. Don't worry about that. Basically, if I wanted to, if this release task took some other additional information, I could put that in there. But yeah, you can see compiling artifacts from or compiling archives from current directory in our repository root or our module. I've also been calling it generating artifacts, created output directory. So there's our repository, and we go up to the parent, and then we have this release folder that it creates if it's not there. And then inside of that release folder, we have a artifact repository folder, which corresponds to our module or our repository root. And then this is just the output from my archiver, which in this case is 7-zip. And yeah, finished compiling archive to test archive PK3, and it's succeeded. And we can actually go and see that this release folder has been created, and then this artifact repository has been created, and then there's our test archive, and we can open it up in Slade, and we can see that it has everything that we expected to find in there. Yeah, let me close that. Another thing that I wanted to, actually, let me go back here for a sec, and then go to, yeah, another thing that happens as a result of this, of building to this release target is, for convenience, we also create a shortcut to our artifact repository for this module. So yeah, that was just another little thing there. Another task that we might want to do, um, um, just because it's kind of useful at times, like when you've got multiple modules and you're building a large project with multiple modules and running them and stuff like that. Sometimes you want to be able to start from scratch in terms of your build artifacts. So you basically just want to have a clean slate, wipe everything out from this from these artifacts. That's what the the clean target is for. So if I do build clean as opposed to build release, actually let me clear the screen. So if I do uh, build clean as opposed to build release, we can see initiating task clean with arguments blah blah blah, module root, and then there's our repository release path, and the parent of our repository, and then release, and then removing artifact repository at the release folder, and then the repository corresponding to our the artifact repository corresponding to our module. And then it also removes that shortcut that I talked about just a second ago. And this is from the remove dir command. If you don't pass it a switch, if you don't pass it a certain switch, it'll confirm from the user whether they actually want to go through the deletion. So that can be disabled. And then yeah, all artifacts removed, task clean succeeded, and you can see that the shortcut is no longer there. And if we go into the release, yeah, you don't see the artifact repository that corresponds to our module. The other thing that I think I might have mentioned that I want to be able to do is have an existing PK3 and sync the contents directly into our source, into our project source. So like let's say you already had like an existing PK3 that you wanted to put into a GitHub repository or whatever. You could go in like Slade and then like manually export everything onto your file system, and once again, super tedious and super like error prone stuff. So it'd be much easier to just have like a simple tool where you could just type in a easy to recall command, to just like pass it a list of archives, and spit out a bunch of like the contents of the PK3s that you give it. And so that's what this sync command will do. Um, so yeah. Oh wait, let me just set the stage here. So I'm gonna delete everything from my source. I'm gonna pretend that I just started a fresh repository without any content in it, and then I'm just gonna use this as my like my test thing. Um, oh, actually, let me run a quick build. Let me see here, build. And the reason why I did that was because now uh, I have this artifact repository which corresponds, it's empty, but I have this artifact repository that corresponds to my module, which is useful for this sync command. It's not needed because with the sync command, you basically just pass in a directory, and that directory is basically the well, you pass it in a path to your module or your repository or whatever, um, and then you also pass in a list of archives. So you could pass in something like this, and then it would basically dump all the contents of these into top level folders corresponding to each one of these PK3s inside of this path slash source. So yeah, but I don't have to specify this list of archives. If I don't specify this list of archives, the default behavior will be to go will be to look into this releases folder, and then a folder which corresponds an artifact repository, really, the artifact repository, which corresponds to this module here. So since that's there, it's going to be looking for this in here. So I'll just go ahead and get that set up. So basically, starting a new fresh repository, and I'm like turning this PK3 that I've already been working on outside of all version control, and I'm basically taking all the contents from that and putting it into my version control repository. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so it's in the artifact repository, and then I'm just going to run I'm going to run sync with the current directory in my repository root. Oh yeah, let me just clear the screen real quick. Sync. All right, and then you can see no source archives specified, searching for sources in the artifact repository by default. Um, no source archives resolved in this. So the artifact repository, anything.pk3, verifying all archives exist. Found an archive, zanshaders.pk3, attempting to extract to source. And then once again, just output from my archiver application 7-zip, and then finished extracting sources from the PK3, finished syncing sources from artifact repository anything.pk3 to source, and we can verify that now. There it is. There is our there is the folder that corresponds to our whole PK3, and if we go in there, we can see everything that we expected. Yeah, so yeah, I was basically just wondering, is there already something that people use uh, to implement this kind of like development cycle with the like with Doom WADs and archivers and stuff? Yeah, that's basically what I was wondering. And if not, yeah, uh, if this is something that would be helpful to others, yeah, let me know about that uh, as well. Yeah, thanks.